Hey everyone, Josh here, and it is time for another collection tour. And this time we were given access to a collection from a collector named Narayan. Narayan is an administrator of the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, and he was kind enough to let me into his home, and he gave me a full walkthrough of his entire collection, and it is very large, it is very cool, and one of the things you'll see about Narayan here in this video is he is one of the smartest, most knowledgeable collectors I've ever met. And if you sit down with him for a few minutes and talk Star Wars, you are definitely going to learn something you didn't know before. So enjoy the video. Here it is. I sat down with him for about 10 or 15 minutes and we discussed Star Wars. Then he gave me a walkthrough of his entire collection. And it's a pretty long video, but it's well worth watching. So enjoy, guys. Here you go. Alright, everyone. So I'm sitting here with Narayan. He is an administrator of the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collectors, and he has invited me into his house to give me a tour of his collection, and I'm pretty excited about it. But we're going to talk to him for a few minutes first and just ask him some questions about collecting and Star Wars. But what was your thank you for letting me come to your house.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And what was your first memory of Star Wars? We were just talking about this, but what is the first thing you actually remember as a child about Star Wars?
I think the first thing I remember is probably seeing Empire Strikes Back with my family. It was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We probably, my family immigrated to this country from India in like 1980, so it was just about the time that the film was coming out. And it was, I believe, in a place called North Hills Village in Pittsburgh. There was actually even a Children's Palace or Child World or something right around the corner from that theater. I remember seeing it and I was just like blown away because I was just like, this is the most amazing movie. And I hadn't even seen Star Wars yet, and I'd heard about it. But I was like, this is the second movie, and I was like, this is incredible. And of course, you know, the figures were all in kind of full run at that point in all the stores, so it was a natural for any kid back then to just kind of be curious about what's all these things on the shelves, and you know, there was tons of Star Wars toys around, so it was pretty easy to get interested. So
have you been collecting since you were a child, and you still have all your figures from back then?
Yes, to some degree I have been collected since I was a child. I mostly collected the Kenner 3 3/4 inch figures.
Okay.
Didn't think I had a lot. Maybe had like 1 or 2 play sets, maybe 1 or 2 vehicles. I do have probably 90% of my childhood figures still around. They're not in the best of shape, but some of them are actually still on display in my loose run display. Okay. But I still have them. I still have my original Darth Vader case as well, and I think my original Dagobah playset, which is you'll see today.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of those things are still around, and of course, you know, there was always a lull in collecting. You know, when Star Wars kind of went out of the mainstream and got back into it in the mid-90s, as many people did.
Do you remember what the first toy was you bought, or the first item in your collection? Do you?
Oh, that's a tough one. I can't say for sure which one it was, but 2 figures stand out in my mind, and that's C-3PO and R2-D2. And the only reason they stand out in my mind is because in first grade, I remember I brought them to class, and the teacher confiscated them from me, which just was like devastating. But you know, eventually my parents wrote a letter to the teacher and got my figures back. But it was just a hilarious thing, and I still have those figures, and I tell my kids this story all the time. So, you know, they're really beat up, C-3PO and R2, but, you know, that's kind of my earliest, you know, probably a bad memory of Star Wars figures, but they were probably amongst the first few that I bought. I'm not sure if they're the very first.
What would you say is, in your collection, is your favorite line to collect?
Favorite line to collect? I mean, my focus has always been on Power of the Force for a long time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, probably because I don't know. I just love the look of the cards and the coins. I know that was when Star Wars was kind of basically being phased out, but I thought those were the most gorgeous cards with all their color and the coins, obviously. And it was almost, potentially we're going to release every figure back on that card. And at that point, the sculpts were like the best they would be in the Kenner line. So, still probably my sentimental favorite.
Okay, what do you have a favorite character you collect, or who would you say that is?
So I actually have three.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had a soft spot for Yoda, Luke, Jedi, and Boba.
Okay.
Have most of my focus in the last few years has been on acquiring pieces dealing with those characters.
Okay. And do you have in your collection, because I've already seen some of them and it's huge, do you have a one piece, one item you'd say is your favorite thing in your collection?
Oh, that's a tough question. It's tough to pick favorites amongst so many things. I mean, I think what you really end up cherishing are the things that really were very difficult to acquire and took years to acquire.
Yeah.
And for that, I think the first major item that I set about to acquire, and that when I first started I didn't think there would be any chance, would be my Power of the Force coin set. So that still is a pretty sentimental favorite. But there's I have plenty of favorite items in the collection, but that was probably the first where, I was able to set my mind on, one kind of grail item and be able to complete it. So.
Okay, just because of you're an older collector like me, I have a feeling I know what the answer to this one is, but favorite movie trilogy, you kind of already answered, but Empire, original trilogy.
Yeah, original trilogy for sure, and it's pretty much a tie between Empire and the first Star Wars.
Really?
I have a soft spot for Empire because that's where Yoda and Boba Fett appear.
Yeah.
But I honestly love the original Star Wars as well. Jedi's a very close second. Of the new stuff, I probably only like Rogue One. Completely out of the new stuff. Not that I hate any of the new stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy it all. But I think that movie really took me back to the original trilogy. And that's what I loved about it.
I thought they did an amazing job with Rogue One. All right. In your collection, are you willing to let items go? Do you sell, trade, or do you, like me? I'm the kind of collector when I get something, I don't let it go. I hold on to it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I would call my collection a black hole collection, but where like it comes in and never goes out. But there's plenty of things I've sold and traded.
Okay.
Obviously, the items I've tried to now focus my collecting, so I'm not trying to collect one of everything anymore.
Okay.
And so, as I lose interest in things, I've started to sell off some of my modern things where I've not find it enjoyable anymore. So, there's never say never to anything.
Yeah, I saw one theory or a collecting strategy online where they were saying, take your collection, sell the whole thing, and start over.
That's not an easy thing to do.
No, I wouldn't
Probably
do it
more
myself, but
expensive
I could see how that would be fun though, to start over from zero and try to acquire new things. Okay, what would you say is your favorite Star Wars content that's not one of the films, like comic book, TV show, anything like that?
Definitely the Clone Wars series.
Okay, I'd love to agree with that.
And in close second would be the Clone Wars micro series, which was on Cartoon Network for a while. But it's all good. More Star Wars on TV and other media is always good. So.
Okay, here's kind of a weird question for a collector. Do you ever see yourself getting to a stopping point, or a point where you say, I'm just done, I'm not going to buy anything else?
Not in the near future. And now I think what's happened with my collecting is, and the group is a big part of this, is that when you get to collect as a group and as part of a group, it just takes on a different meaning.
It does.
And that you can share your love of collecting with other people who have like-minded feelings. And so, you know, I not at any time in the near future, but like I said, my collecting will already become much more focused, and so I don't go in like toy runs and on stores anymore. But you know, I'm plenty of looking out on social media and eBay and everywhere else for things that I'm looking for.
So you don't really like me. I still go to the Walmarts and Targets and look for modern things.
If I'm there for some other reason, I'll just stop by. But you know, it used to be that was something I did pretty regularly, probably 5-10 years ago. But I think it's not something I do anymore regularly now. So.
Okay, other than figures, what would you say your favorite item to collect for Star Wars is?
Other than figures, so other than toys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything outside toys?
That's an interesting question. So I do enjoy just the movies in general, and so any movie related like merchandise. Like I've collected a lot of like screening passes.
Okay.
Obviously the various video releases, autographs.
Okay. Yeah.
And trading cards for sure. Those are all things I've all definitely focused on in the past.
I've got a pretty extensive, and none of them are valuable or from the theaters or anything, but poster collection. I've got quite a lot of posters. I need to start getting those framed, but that's a project for me. But okay, and here's the last question I want to ask you. Just because it's a hot topic and it's controversial right now, what was your opinion on The Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi? I was a little disappointed because I thought it had so much potential. And there was a lot of build-up, I think, from The Force Awakens, and a lot of it just got thrown out. And that was, I think, the most disappointing fact. I think if I just took the movie on its own, I'd probably enjoy it fine, but it was just kind of, you remember the old trilogy, it built on itself, and it kind of, the mythos was just kind of expanded on each movie.
Yeah. And
it tied into things from the previous movie and in the next movie. And maybe they'll fix some of that in the next movie. But there's a lot to overcome in the plot of that movie.
I was discussing this with Justin about how, and you kind of mentioned it a second ago, how like in the late 80s into the early 90s, that's what, as a collector, I call the dark period, because there's nothing coming out, no films, no toys, nothing to collect. There's a couple novels. And so when I asked Justin this question, he made a point, and I kind of agree with this. I'm so happy as a fan that we're at a point now, we're getting new movies, we're getting new toy lines, we're getting content, TV shows, Mandalorian's coming out, and I have my criticisms of The Last Jedi, and for me it was like, I'm like you, one of my favorite all-time character was Luke. And then as an adult, fan now, when they had that cliffhanger in The Force Awakens where, she's trying to hand him the lightsaber and they end the movie, and I was so, where are we going with this from here? And then when we come back, my disappointment with The Last Jedi, as a movie as a whole, I thought it was fine. But I was really disappointed with where they went with Luke. I was just like, come on, guys. I just didn't like where they went with it, and that's my opinion.
I mean, there was a lot of opportunities lost. I mean, there was never a scene where you saw Leia, Luke, and Han.
Yeah, that's what I was really hoping to see.
That was who made up that idea?
Yeah, especially when they announced that, the original cast is going to come back. I thought, if we get to have a scene where Han, Luke, and Leia and Chewie are in the Falcon again for one last scene, that would be so amazing. And then, of course, they kill off Han in the first one. And then we know what happens with Carrie Fisher in real life, so now we'll never get that unless they do it with a computer or some sort of flashback. So, as a fan, I was really disappointed. I've actually seen people on Facebook Photoshop that, where they've taken screenshots of Luke and Han from the first two movies and put them all in the cockpit.
Yeah.
So that's probably as close as we're going to get. But all right, so you ready to do a walk through the collection? Let's do this. Come on. Okay, guys, we're in Narayan's basement, and he's going to give us a tour of his collection. So this is walking into his main collection room, and we're gonna start looking at it all. So,
one of the things maybe before we start is, my collection actually received a name, and I decided to name it the Moss Atlantic Cantina, as you can see by the sign there.
Okay.
And that was introduced actually at the summer social last year to the group, and that logo was designed by a graphic artist, Star Wars graphic artist Jorge Baeza, based in El Paso, and did a fantastic job. And it basically reflects my collecting focus. at the moment. Obviously, my 3 focus characters are in there, and actually it is a subtle homage to the Power of the Force logo as well. So, and I already had the name in mind for a long time. It's just a matter of executing a logo and kind of bringing it to fruition. So.
Now, is this room we're looking at here?
This is the Moss Atlantic Cantina.
But is this the only room you have your collection in, or is there multiple rooms?
The collection is bigger than these 2 rooms, but what's mainly on display is what you'll see with your camera right now. So, and the display is always slightly changing, but yes, certainly there's storage areas where other things are, but as far as the display areas, yes, this is most of it.
Okay. From here, I'm seeing this giant case that you have on the floor here.
Yes.
And this is pretty amazing. Now, is this a custom-made?
So there's actually 3 main dioramas. Actually, several. Probably the 2 main dioramas are the Cantina, which you're looking at there, and there's Jabba's Palace behind you. But this was a project that I did with actually it was an artist that's based in the UK. His name is Karl Boumansour. And he has been making dioramas for over a decade. And they're pretty simple to make. But these were commissioned by me and made by him. Okay. And they were made over time. Actually, when he first started out, he made smaller dioramas. And there's a few I have here in my collection. But he started out with just making a booth. And, eventually... and actually I collaborated with him on kind of expanding the idea in some cases, and it expanded to making more booths, and then a bar area, and the floor, and then the front alcoves, and the back alcoves, and the full front entrance.
I'm not seeing...
that was done over...
I'm not seeing Han and Chewie in their booth. Where are they at?
Han... Well, this scene captures the scene when Luke is just walking into the cantina. Okay. So the idea is, where's those characters during that scene? So you see Luke right at the entrance with C-3PO before he gets told by the bartender to leave.
Okay, and I see him, yeah.
Han is here.
There's Luke and 3PO.
With his girlfriend, Jenny. Oh, yes. Which was seen in the deleted scene.
Oh, yes, I see.
And that's where he was. And actually, if you remember in this exact scene, Ben was talking to Chewbacca at the bar, trying to figure out if he can find a message.
Okay, I see Ben and Chewbacca, right?
There they are, talking to each other.
Okay, because I thought I saw another Wookiee over here.
There is another Wookiee, and that is actually the owner of the cantina. His name is Chalmun.
Okay.
So, Chalmun's Cantina. So that's like the back office I made there. And that's actually Akmina back there from the holiday special. Is the...
Oh, I see her. What's that actress's name?
B. Arthur.
B. Arthur, that's right. I see her in there. Okay.
So there's some nice little Easter eggs in this cantina, and there's obviously some street action going on too.
Amazing. Well, what are most of these figures of?
So some of these are kind of combinations of other figures, customs, and some of them are just like figures that are already leased, and I think Fixer and Cammy are in there. There's a blue Snaggletooth that's just repaint. That's in there, out there on the streets.
I love the...
there's some 3 drunk Jawas.
Yeah, the lounging Jawas.
There's even the original Jabba from the deleted scene with his fur coat.
I see him.
Hanging out back there with his goons.
Okay, I see him. Back here in the back.
And I even put, Aura Singh in there, and...
there's the band playing.
The band is playing.
Very nice. All right.
And the streets are obvious. Some of it's based on accurate film stills, but other stuff I just threw in just because it was just kind of a neat Easter egg. So some bounty hunters, obviously.
There's Aura Singh. Very nice.
And this whole diorama that was the display itself was actually constructed by somebody who worked on my house. He just built this out of wood and acrylic, and so he just did it to my custom specs. So and it actually is on wheels. So
I love.
Actually move around and film it from any angle if you wanted to.
Oh my goodness!
And it can be moved out.
That's very smart because when you start putting these things together, you have one of my concerns when I display things and I leave them out in the open is the dust, and you have them in a case that protects them, and you can move it on wheels. So
of course, figures always fall from time to time, as you can see. So
does it just lift off, and you can reach in there?
It off, and I try not to do it too often, but periodically I'll just go back in and just readjust. So, and of course, if there's a new figure I want to add in there, you always have to do that.
Now I want to jump over here because we're doing dioramas and film this Jabba's Palace. And okay, it's a little bit smaller than the Cantina.
Yeah, and,
but
it's still, you know, roughly to scale. And again, like the Cantina was, it was built in pieces. And you know, originally, I think the first piece he made was the Han alcove over here.
Oh.
And you know, then eventually he did like the throne area and all that other stuff. You know, we kind of just expanded on. And a few of these pieces in here, I think I may be the only one that has them. For example, like these back stairways and this whole area here with like the, you know, the bar tables. His one was my idea, and he built it for me basically. And so it's kind of based on blueprints that, you know, were out in the various blueprint books, and it tried to make it as to scale as possible. And a lot of the figures in there obviously are, you know, probably about 2/3 are real retail figures, and the other third are maybe customs.
Okay.
That some I've made, some other people made for me.
Now, what is the Jabba himself? Which line is that from?
So the Jabba is actually the most recent Jabba that was released, I believe, with the Rancor set.
Okay, yeah.
It is repainted, though, to look more realistic by a customizer. And he also did some highlighting on the accessories there as well. So it's not the off-the-shelf Jabba, exactly.
Okay.
And there's a lot of tweaks to a lot of figures that are in here, even if they're the retail version. I've sometimes, you know, put some more weathering on them, or made, you know, more realistic paint, or something that maybe matched a photo better than the actual release did.
Now, do you have any more of these in process right now that you're building? Any more dioramas?
No major dioramas like this. Obviously, the sail barge is going to be arriving soon.
Oh yeah, that's right. You back to the barge.
I do have a custom sail barge over there.
Okay.
If you see.
Let me go get some film of that. That is pretty impressive.
Actually, why don't we take it off the top there and you can see it a little better. It's actually fairly light. This is built actually out of foam board.
Oh really?
And
so
if you could take that little stand there.
This
That
thing?
little square stand, yeah.
Okay.
And we can just lay it up here on the table. But yeah, this was made by a guy named David Stiles, customizer out of Colorado. And he's still building these. I think he's charging about what you charge for the retail barge, about $400 to $500, depending on the kind of the things you want included. But you know, this is before they had announced anything, obviously, as far as the retail barge. But he did a pretty impressive job, you know, with the materials that he used. It has some nice play features. It actually has an interior, so you can actually remove panels to see Jabba inside there.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing.
And it actually even has a little bar area. You know, it's hard to see because there's a lot of figures in there right now, but it's got a little stairwell, and there's a little bar kind of behind Bosk there. So some neat play features.
That is very impressive.
And some of the windows do move. And I actually have, you know, kind of tweaked some of it as well. I've added things like ropes, little greeblies, and kind of metallic things on the deck. Added some lines to the deck as well. Even this little flag over here. You know, Jabba's symbol, so forth. And obviously there's a lot of custom figures in there, which they haven't released yet as well. But a lot of these figures I think I will be transferring to the real barge when it's released. And we'll probably be staffing this one with vintage figures. So
yeah,
I still have some use for it.
I almost pulled the trigger and got a barge, but I didn't do it. But I'm very curious as to what the next HasLab project's going to be. I don't suppose you've heard anything on that.
I have not heard any.
I'm very curious as to what that's going to be.
More than one a year because it's quite expensive. So here, while we're over here, you know, we can take a look at I guess our loose run, which is probably the kind of where my collection really started. And yeah, you're seeing some other customs up there. But so this is my vintage loose run, and it's got it includes most of the major variants and a few other minor variants for certain characters as well. And I would say about maybe a third of these are the characters that I had from the kit. The other 2/3 I've upgraded, you know, in some way or another. you know, for better paint. But it's, you know, obviously most of these are pretty good condition now. So
now, what is this in the center we're looking at here with the Luke?
Yeah. So these are little, almost like, it's kind of like a diorama, but it's a cheap diorama made of paper. So it's basically just, these are Sideshow and Hot Toys figures, basically. And the smaller scale ones, those I believe is a combination of Black Series and Bandai and Kotobukiya, SH Figure Arts. So various lines that are kind of in the 6-inch scale. And I think the backdrops were just printouts from somebody that on one of the 12-inch forums, basically, and just kind of brings the figures to life in an environment.
The way you display them is amazing. It just looks beautiful. It's very nice. It's very.
And obviously, the loose run you can kind of see the yellow background that was an homage to the original card backs as well. And what you're seeing here on the right is the modern versions of the vintage figures.
Oh,
so
okay.
The best modern version of that particular character. And so in some cases, you know, when there's like two variants of the vintage line, like a big head Han and small head Han, I try to replicate that in the modern line as well. And the last row there is actually some customs. So if the line had continued, what would they have made? And that was kind of my idea of what figures I would have liked to have seen.
All these ones on the bottom,
right? And obviously some have been made in the modern line, but in the vintage line, you know, people like Sand Trooper and Tarkin and Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru or Slave Leia, they never got made, but they should have. And so that reflects that.
Wow. Okay, so I got to ask you, what is this giant Millennium Falcon from? Yeah. Is this a custom or is this something?
It's actually the Legacy Falcon, what they call the BMF, the Big Millennium Falcon. But it's been repainted to look like a prop.
This is the
Legacy Falcon released more recently.
The one is in the big white and blue box?
Correct. It was also released in vintage packaging as well. But it has been, there was a customizer on Rebel Scum that he basically, you know, applied layers of dust and sand and grease to make it look like, you know, the Falcon that would be used in the movie. And so this is not what the toy looks like out of the box, but it's an amazing...
You had a custom paint job done to it.
Exactly.
Okay. Because I have this, but mine's still in the box. I want to unbox it. But
it's an amazing...
It's a lot bigger than I thought it was. This is the first time I've seen one outside the box. And it is really a lot bigger.
The sail barge is a lot bigger than this. So.
Yeah, I saw the comparison on Facebook. Someone did a side-by-side of them. I mean, it was just a graphic, but it was...
that table's enough for my sail barge, but now I'm wondering...
I think you should get a case like that for it to protect it because it's an investment. I mean, okay, so I'm looking at your Boba Fett collection over here of Slave Ones and.
So Boba's obviously again one of my focus characters, and so you know, this is a mix of both modern and vintage stuff here. There's some vintage photos there from Kim Simmons, the vintage Slave One. As well as the two modern Slave Ones.
Is this the vintage collection Slave One here?
Correct.
Okay.
That was the Amazon exclusive.
That
is the original vintage.
Vintage. And what is this?
And this is Jango Fett's Slave One. And that was actually released, I believe, as a Toys R Us exclusive. And it's the same mold as the Boba Fett version, but just obviously
it's just another vintage collection?
I believe it was released in the Legacy line, but,
okay.
Or Clone Wars line or something like that. But it's the same mold, obviously, that they used. So a lot of the figures that you're seeing, some of those are customs, some are just, you know, the releases from the modern line. And actually there's some kind of interesting pieces here with the Han and Carbonite. Some of these actually have some electronics built into them.
Oh, I see. I can see the USB port in it.
Yeah. Let's see if I can turn one on for you here. And it's kind of neat how somebody can get something so small into such a small space. So somebody basically modified I think that was a part of the Force 2.
And
Carbonite
so this was a custom piece you bought?
That's correct.
And is the paint, you see how he's silver on top?
Correct. He's slightly made it, he's customized it paint-wise, but the cool thing is the electronics, I think.
That's cool.
So
it's amazing.
And I think he did one for a vintage one here as well. I can't figure out which one it is here exactly. Oh, it's actually probably this one. Is it this one? No, that's the vintage. I'm sorry, that is the vintage one. I think you did one for the modern size one as well here. There we go. And so that's actually even a little more accurate.
Very nice.
So
now, the first person who can make one that'll actually melt and let Han out.
That would be somebody I'm sure is working on that at some point. So, but yeah, that's pretty neat, and I think it does charge with a little USB charger.
So now, are these guys here? These are all Black Series.
So the Django and Boba are obviously the official releases. The other one is a custom of, I believe, Jodo Cast from the Twin Engines of Destruction series. And then on this side are some more customs. As you'll notice, Holiday Boba is kind of a favorite of mine. So you'll see a lot of Holiday Bobas in my collection, and these are kind of the animated versions of them.
Love. Where did you get this one?
This was an eBay one, and I'm surprised I was able to get it for really cheap. But it's almost made like it comes out of a comic book.
Yeah, love that paint.
And I almost want to get my holiday special almost done a little bit like that, but it's kind of like that, but not quite as extensive as that one.
The way you display these things, your collection is amazing. It's just beautiful. You got the backgrounds, the lighting,
Thank you. So these are mainly Sideshow and Gentle Giant pieces that you're seeing here, as well as mixed in with Box Series, Bandai, various pieces. So obviously I have a soft spot for clones here, mainly the Clone Commanders. And some of those are custom pieces. For example, the Phase 1 Commander Greed, that's never been produced. So that's a complete custom based, built with other parts. The Fordo, which is the commander from this Clone Wars micro series with the red markings. He's also a custom. So yeah, and a lot of these have been slightly modified from the official versions and so forth. The Vader, there's a Riddell mini helmet there, and that's actually been signed by Dave Prowse.
Oh, really?
And I do have a couple of Boba versions here as well that have been signed by various people who have been involved in the Boba costume. You see in front of you, that's actually got quite a few signatures on there. The only one it doesn't have is Jeremy Bullock, which is interesting, but I do have another helmet that has Jeremy over here. But that has people like Joe Johnston and other people. So
this little helmet in the back, that's Jeremy's signature?
That is Jeremy's signature.
And then on the left side here you have a Django case.
And against various releases, Gentle Giant and Black Series, Kotobukiya in there.
I see the
There's
Sabine.
A custom Pre-Vizsla in there as well that's made from a Django mold.
Oh, and you got the Dark Saber on it.
There's a Dark Saber there.
Nice.
Too. There's even a little vintage custom of the Mandalorian coming up here.
Where's that?
On the very left there, just right in front of
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, hopefully he doesn't disappoint.
I can't wait to see
cool
what we get toy-wise from that TV show when it comes out, The Mandalorian.
And here's my holiday display, which is quite one of my favorites. Obviously, just love the holiday colors. And there's a couple. One of the customs is a repaint. The vintage customs you're looking at is a repaint. The other one was made by a customizer back in the mid-90s on Rebel Scum named Vince Viard. He's actually from France. And he's also one of the few people that made the original rocket firing customs.
Oh, really?
As well, and I have a few of those in my collection.
And we've got Commander Cody, Obi-Wan, very nice.
Right. Kind of the major clone commanders from the movies, essentially. And then obviously Rex took on pretty big prominence during the Clone Wars series as well. And these are some prints. Again, some were made by, some were sold on, I think, on Star Wars Shop, some time ago, and that's a panel from the Droid series. These are some prints by a local artist here, actually from Savannah, Logan McDonald, that I picked up in ICCC last year.
Very nice. And what are these up here above your window? I see a...
Yeah, so these are baseball bat cases that you can buy at Michael's, and they're great for displaying loose Star Wars. And essentially these are just like the kind of... it's a dual coin and figure case, and so obviously with Power of the Force being one of my focuses, I just displayed the figure along with the coin that would have come with it. You know, just and I added kind of the back colored insert to kind of make them pop.
I did see someone talking about that. I think it was on the collector's page where they're saying get these baseball bat cases. You can get a good deal on them, and they're great for displaying figures.
Yeah, this is the Droids full loose run there, and you also see some kind of custom Lego minifigures in little cases up there above it, of my favorite characters.
Oh, okay. It's one thing I haven't gotten into is the Lego. That's a
and I'm
deep hole.
not really into Legos, but I couldn't pass up things of my favorite characters. So, and this is obviously like the last kind of. This is a display kind of like the big 6 Power of the Force, which are more valuable obviously on card, but some are even valuable loose, obviously. Actually, it's big 7, I guess. Power of the Force, or sorry, the pop-up R2 and the Yoda being the
more art
as well. And these are like kind of draftsman type images of these characters.
Are these actually from Kenner production, or
they're not? They're actually made by somebody in the UK, but
okay.
it does kind of mimic that, like a like a template that an engineer might use. So, and I believe that guy actually is an engineer or draftsman, and so his other hobby is to make these prints. So.
It still amazes me though, just the love for the franchise people have and the amount of work they will put into.
And what you're seeing here are the various Star Tot swag giveaways that were done at the last few celebrations. So you're looking at Celebration Europe and Celebration Orlando.
Okay.
Those are the Jedi themed ones. Celebration Anaheim, they did an Empire set. And of course the first set they did was at Celebration 6, which was the A New Hope characters. And so so Star Tots were a nice homage to a line that was actually never produced. Those are some medallions that were actually done at Celebration Europe in 2016. Just like some of the pewter medallions that were given out at previous celebrations. It's for attending the panels, you essentially got a medallion. Most of the shelf displays you're seeing here are the Power of the Force figures, including some customs figures that were never released. For example, there's that Luke in his kind of Death Star outfit. That is a Black Series figure that's been customized to have some soft goods.
And what about this one here?
That is the actual Black Series figure that was released. So that's just the straight up.
It's one I'm missing.
This one adds, his outer tunic and his cape to the figure.
I'm hoping he's going to be an archive series release soon. Here, Jedi Luke, that's one I need.
So those 2 customs you're looking at right there, and sorry for being a little crowded and a little messy there, but right. Those are from Ryan Shaw, one of our members from St. Simon's Islands, a well-known customizer in our hobby, and he made the Slave Leia and the Gargan figure. 2 figures that were obviously never made in the vintage line, but he used vintage techniques and the plastics that they used in Kenner to make those figures. Some more. Some of these again are Power of the Force kind of custom mock-ups, like the Tusken Raider was never released. So, but that is an original coin, and that is an original figure in there. It's just the card back itself is a custom. The Jawa is real; it's been released.
Was that the 40th anniversary one, or is that the one that there's a one out right now?
The 6-inch scale one? Yeah, that is the one from the 40th anniversary card. Yes. And down here are some custom Bobas. Some of these figures you'll see in my Power of the Force swag mini card backs that I'm giving away at Celebration this year. So these are kind of the full-size customs here that you're looking at. And of course, Luke and Stormtrooper and Han and Stormtrooper they never released.
Is this Elite Series Phasma?
That Phasma actually is released from, I believe, Japan. I believe that's the Bandai model kit, and it's one of the few that actually has a full chrome finish.
You
Black
don't see that.
ones, I believe, just have a kind of a matte silver finish. But
jeez, this is beautiful. You have an very impressive collection. Can we?
Sure.
I want to see this main case you have now. Up top here, you have some vehicles. Now, what are these vehicles from?
So most of these vehicles are from the modern line, and probably reflecting the best vehicle of that particular style that was released. So, like that X-wing would be, I believe, the Red 5 X-wing from. I'm not sure which line, but the best
Isn't that
mold.
Power of the Force?
There was a.
I think
it's not. It's the modern update, the longer, bigger size version. So I don't know. I think
is it the one where
Death Star Trench? I believe.
Is it the one where Luke doesn't the figure doesn't actually come out? It's mounted in there.
It's the same mold as that one, but I think it was a later release.
Okay.
Where this one you can remove the figure.
Now, is this an original early bird certificate?
That is a original early bird certificate, one that I just acquired in the past year.
Okay.
And one that's in still pretty good condition. So, but yeah, that is an original early bird kit. I don't have an early bird set yet.
So these are Power of the Force or vintage?
That is the vintage collection snow speeder that's also been customized to
And you
look like it's
repainted
been,
it. Okay.
Gone through, hell basically. So.
I love how that is a brilliant idea to repaint these things, give them a more realistic look. I've never seen that in person where collectors have done that, but I love the way it looks. It's amazing.
Yeah, and all of these I think have the updated cockpits and stuff and electronics in them as well. That's the Interceptor, I believe I think it is the Vintage Interceptor.
Vintage collection.
Vintage collection, yes.
Okay, and then
here's some more Power of the Force displays. Again, a mixture of actually official released figures and custom mock-ups. I do have the entire full run of Power of the Force, all on cards,
really?
All unpunched.
How many?
Not all graded.
How many figures is that on the whole run?
It's actually 37 figures.
Okay.
Which is a shame because it would have been great to see every figure they ever released on this line because it's such a beautiful line. It's like some of the Rogue One figures. That's a really nice Saw Gerrera somebody made for me.
Where? Okay, so yeah, because you can't get him in Black Series.
He's not been released, so that's a complete custom that somebody made. I'm truly amazed by the people that customize these things.
Oh, I know. 3D printing is amazing. Some of the stuff I see on people doing online is. See, I have a couple of the Black Series Chews. I just haven't unboxed them yet, but I love how they actually made him bigger, taller, all that. And then what is this Grievous over here?
This General Grievous is actually also a Bandai model kit. I know there is a Black Series version that's coming out soon, but the model kit is pretty stunning. And he's fully articulated for model kit, but also been slightly customized as well. But yeah, so that's from that line. Some other 6-inch lines from around the world are actually better than Black Series in some cases. For example, the Maul, Darth Maul, I believe, was a SH Figure Arts figure, and it looks stunning as compared to the Black Series in terms of its likeness and its articulation.
What is the Sith speeder?
Sith speeder is a complete custom. I think it's a 3D printed speeder basically, and so
nice.
They just painted it, and it fits the Maul. So,
is that the Elite Series one? Because I heard that's the only way you can get.
That is actually another Black Series custom. Made of complete custom parts and 3D printed parts basically, and that's the pilot.
Bodhi Rook.
That's right. From Rogue One.
So many names.
Another custom there, a Dooku there, and the Yoda is actually also a custom, but it uses Black Series parts, and I believe the head actually came from, I don't know if it was like a toothbrush. Some kind of dispenser, but it was a really good mold, and it fits the the Attack of the Clones Yoda really nicely. So
is that the one that came with the
San
Boba
Diego
Fett?
Comic-Con, release there, and actually, I want to since you asked about about the yeah, so I do have a melting version of Han and Carbonite. So this is, I believe, the Saga Collection version, and I think what happens is you can...
He pops out of there somehow?
There's a little part here that I can press somewhere. Oh, here we go. It's probably a little dim right now, but you can see him flashing.
It's coming through.
And it kind of goes a little... And it stays, and so... Kind of a nice little custom, and there's a little LED back there.
Okay, so the figure's not in there. Okay, I thought like maybe the front would come off and Han would actually be in there.
Not quite there yet. But... And there's Mara Jade, another custom that's probably used Marvel Universe parts as well. So, and up here is I collect a lot of vintage customs or customs of any sort, but this is a good number of my vintage customs here. And so one cool thing is I had somebody actually make or somebody actually did, make a bunch of vintage astromechs based on the R2 mold. And these are all kind of, I think, he made the resin molds and, made custom stickers, but some pretty cool things, because he even made some transparent molds there for some of the heads. And these are essentially all the astromechs that you see in the original trilogy. Even if you see them for a second here or there on the Death Star, on the Tatooine streets.
Do you have a chopper custom?
No, well, I mean, these are all original trilogy ones, but I don't think I have a chopper vintage custom yet. But,
so what everyone's looking for is that Chopper Black Series.
What you're looking at there is my childhood Dagobah set.
Okay. I remember that one as a kid. I remember seeing that.
It's still probably one of the sets I still have in really good condition. And then this is another diorama from Carl Blumenauer, one of his earlier dioramas. The same guy that made the Cantina. So he made a Yoda hut.
I love that
there. So,
cutout hut. That's awesome.
Actually, it kind of twirls around. So it actually has two sides. There's an entrance as well, which it's hard to turn there, but it's almost like a cutout. So.
Is this the creature that swallowed your R2 and Dagobah? I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, he came in one of these sets, I believe. Maybe like the Dagobah X-Wing or so. The Dragon Snake, I believe.
What is this Jabba?
So this Jabba is the Black Series Jabba.
Okay.
It's also been slightly repainted. There's a metal chain that's been added for Leia. The Jawas are a custom resin mold, I believe. The throne itself was never made, but that's actually also a custom that somebody made out of styrofoam.
Okay.
It was painted, to fit. That is the new Gamorrean Guard in Lando. And then the accessories are also just done by customizers. Those are just kind of resin-made accessories that have been painted.
What about the drink tray R2? Is that custom?
Drink tray is a release. That was released, I believe, by Mayfex in Japan. The carbonite display is made by the same person who made this throne. What's kind of nice is that the carbonite block actually hangs by a magnet there. So
really?
It looks like it's floating. So, but there's a strong magnet that holds that in place. The Ula is a custom, which is a fantastic Black Series custom, which I've never seen anyone else do. But just stunning, with soft goods and everything. The Bubo also is a resin-made figure. And down here are some couple dioramas, some of which were used Hasbro parts, but that, I believe, is made by Hole in the Ground Productions. And it's really just a combination of kind of 3D printed parts and stickers. And then the Death Star compactor was released, but the outer walls were made by Carl.
Who released the compactor? What line was that from?
I believe it was a Toys R Us exclusive. And actually, what I did was 2 sets of compactors were released, so I just made a double set.
Okay.
To make it look a little larger.
What was it, Vintage Collection or Black Series? Do you remember?
It was a blue line. I want to say it was Legacy or something. It was shortly after, I believe, Power of the Jedi, something like that. So.
Okay. I don't remember
Down there you can see a lot of my vintage card sets.
Okay. Those are your collector cards. Okay.
Going from back in the 1970s sets
to
some of the more recent Wide Vision and Galactic Files and Evolution series. So most of those are complete.
Do you have? I see you have a lightsaber collection. Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, these are mini lightsabers. Probably I think maybe a half or a third scale. These are released, I believe, by Master Replicas. Same people that did the full size ones. But I was actually able to get most of these on the cheap. I think when they were being phased out, like Big Lots or
really
something for ridiculous prices. Which I thought was amazing for kind of prop type pieces, but they're all pretty accurate to the actual prop that was used in the movies. And one thing I never realized is how different lightsabers are from each movie. Like the
Skywalker.
The Skywalker lightsaber in The New Hope is different than the one he uses in Empire Strikes Back, or Vader's lightsaber is actually different in each movie. So,
and you have Dooku's, Emperors.
Yeah, this is all the ones they released in that line. So.
Very nice.
They also released a few blasters there, which you can see there as well.
You got them tucked in there.
Yeah, I don't have a lot from like the newer movies, but there's a few there from Last Jedi and Force Awakens and Rogue One in those last 2 displays. The last display that you're seeing there's actually a pretty cool tiered display that somebody painted. That actually is the Cantina, which you can't really see with all the figures on it, but it's a pretty amazingly painted tiered display. And at some point I'll probably move that to see that better.
Okay, so then you have, that's one of my favorite vehicles from Return of the Jedi is the little skiff that, oh my God, you have a freaking rental.
So there's a lot, these are not the vintage skiffs, but obviously it's the same mold as the vintage skiff. These are, I believe, the Power of the Force 2, or, you know, whatever release there was. I think one was with the Sarlacc pit. But they haven't released a lot of the skiff guards yet, so a lot of those you're seeing are customs. And I've tried to display them as, you know, what they would be displayed in each skiff.
There's an ambitious diorama project for you, is when you get the sail barge from HasLab. You can make a giant one with the Sarlacc.
It's interesting that David Stiles, who made my custom barge, he actually does make a Sarlacc pit playset. It's enormous, and I didn't take him up on it, but he does make one that fits your skiffs and the sail barge. So if you have room...
That's one of the things.
And here,
having the room for it.
What you're looking at here are vintage versions of the Cantina and Jabba's Palace using the pop-up cardboard playsets that they sold.
I remember them.
So again, a lot of characters in here are custom and it's done in a vintage style here in this case. So you even got Akmina in there as a vintage figure. So
it makes me want to go home and start setting up dioramas right away.
And what you're looking at here are Bandai model kits, and a lot of them have been customized and repainted for the various different droids. The only ones they actually released were R2 and R5. So all the other kits you're seeing with the different paint jobs were just done from an R2 or an R5 model kit and just modified to look like a different droid. The C-3PO is also a model kit as well.
Beautiful.
And some more dioramas that Carl has done. That's Ben's house. That is a Force Awakens speeder that's been customized.
That Black Series?
Yeah. And then I believe that's also a customized Sith speeder that's modified from the version. And this is
I love the hallway.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And that was also one of the first dioramas that I bought from Carl.
You got to swap those troopers out for Vader and make it a Rogue One.
Yeah, that's right. Some more vintage customs up here, and one of my favorite, the original kind of vintage diorama was the Sears Cantina playset, which is what you're seeing here.
Okay.
But I've populated it with, you know, some original figures and some customs to remake that scene.
All right, then. Oh, is this is the Black Series speeder bike?
That's the Black Series.
That's what I'm hunting right now. That's one of the ones I'm looking for. I'm hoping I can get it at Toyland.
That is the Black Series Emperor, also been repainted with some custom soft goods robes and a 3D printed
throne.
Okay.
Very nice.
So yeah, I'm still organizing a few things here and there. So
that's part of the fun of doing it is organizing it and getting it around. And all right, very good.
So how about you want to look at the mint on card sets now?
Sure. You got anything else you want to show us? And then I'm seeing you have a poster collection of and you have some sabers on the wall. So you have some.
Let's see if these light up.
Now be careful with that because I kept batteries in mine and one of my Luke, it started leaking on me, but I caught it before I broke it. So you might want to check that from time to time. I actually had a couple vehicles die on me too.
Yeah, this one's always a little flaky, so that might not turn on. But just 2 out of 3.
There you go.
And yeah, these are the special edition posters. I've never been a big poster guy, but if they've come my way and
I just like them because the art on them is usually so beautiful.
Here's a very special poster, and it's special mainly because this is actually given by my work colleagues.
Okay.
And this is the Mylar 10-year anniversary poster, and it was given to me on my 10 years of work at my current position.
Okay.
So somebody actually thought enough to find that poster, which is not an easy poster to get in good condition. So, but
I kind of hate looking at the anniversary stuff because it always reminds you how old you're getting. Because I got a lot of the 20th anniversary stuff.
Now the only other thing on the walls here, we have the vintage LP records over there.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Framed up there, so those are for each of the 3 original trilogy.
Is that the radio broadcasts?
No, those are the soundtracks.
The soundtracks, okay.
Yeah, so the official soundtrack. I don't know, it's not the full soundtrack, but you know, it's what was released back at the time for each of the movies. So we can probably move on to the, well, why don't we do this front display here?
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of most of my boba loose stuff and a lot of my celebration swag items. So what you see on top there is a lot of the pewter medallions that were given away at Celebration 4 Japan and Europe. You know, these are, again, things given away like the Star Tots were at the panels. And then you're seeing here are the various loose variants of Boba Fett.
Okay.
So when I first started collecting some of these figures, you never realize how many different variants there are.
I know.
There's actually quite a few.
Now, what is this in the center here that's still boxed?
Yeah, so that's a custom box made by some Spanish collectors, and that's a PvP version of Boba Fett. And that is a Spanish variant, basically, of Boba Fett. And
okay.
a lot of that, you've probably heard of something called a tri-logo Boba Fett, which you're looking at right now. They kind of have a pale, almost grayish body. They look pale compared to the Boba Fetts that Kenner released. And those are all actually released by a Spanish company named PvP. And that's what you're looking at there. Sometimes referred to as tri-logo Fetts. So...
Okay, and there's your
more swag and
glass
some of the
collection.
Burger King glasses that you see there. And again, kind of going along with the Cantina theme.
What
here.
is the beer?
So the beer is actually, there's nothing in there, but they're just bottles.
Okay.
This was a swag theme. I believe we looked at the patches earlier in the video here, but somebody did a Cantina theme set that included that little 6-pack there. And it also included bottle caps. And so I just had some bottles made.
Okay,
so
they're
the
empty.
same artwork. They're empty.
Okay.
But it's kind of neat that it's the same artwork that they used for the patches and the bottle cap that they released.
Actually, put a bottle for the bottle cap.
And they released the 6-pack, but no bottles. So I figured, okay, I need to make some bottles. So those are some.
Now, what are these bottle caps here with the photographs on?
So those were released in Celebration Japan, and again as an homage to the vintage bottle caps that were released in Japan in the 1970s.
Okay.
So, but those were released for Celebration.
Now I'm curious, what's the pink and green Fett and Trooper?
These are interesting. These are actually just kind of custom molded Fetts and molded figures. They actually have magnetic joints, and so they're completely, there's nothing vintage about them other than the mold. But they're all synthetic and made. I believe Brian Kaufman is the guy that makes these. He'll actually be at Toylanta, so maybe he'll have some of these for sale. But it allows for some interesting combinations. You can swap up arms and legs.
You're not kidding about the different variants. Look at all these. Every one of these Fetts is different, or are these multiple?
Yeah,
of the
they're
same?
all actually a little different. The very first Fett released was in the mailer. And actually, if you look at him, he's almost got a lime green chest. And he has kind of glossy red paint and a little different than probably the more standard Fett that you probably are used to, which is kind of this bluish skin and has a brownish belt. But this is probably the one you may have seen most often. But even the Hong Kong Fetts, they have some variations. There's some that have very pale limbs, others that have more of a black belt as compared to a brown belt. And the Taiwan version is actually a different mold altogether, a different paint. And then Lily Letty in Mexico made a completely different Fett as well, and Meccano, French Fett. They're all different, and those are all the PvP variants.
Now, I had someone asking me recently about the difference of the ones that came out in England, or vintage toys. Now, was there a totally different toy company that made...
So most of what you see released on English cards were the PvP Fetts, which were made in Spain or assembled in Spain, but they were released on lines like Palatoy and Trilogo, which is probably what you refer to. Palatoy itself is an English company that distributed figures, but they didn't actually assemble any figures at their factories.
Yeah, that's what they were asking me about. They were showing me a YouTube
so what
video
you're looking
commercial.
over there are mainly bootlegs and customs of
Really?
Boba. These are Polish bootlegs. These are customs that Gary Weaver made of the droids figures and so forth. Some really
I've
nice
just
fun.
learned about that recently. I'm surprised that people collect bootlegs.
Well, I'm surprised how expensive they are, actually. And this is a small Luke Bespin loose run that I've been working on, but nothing that I'm going to go full bore on. But
then you have a book collection. I've got a small book collection.
These are various movie books that I've just got here. A few Galaxy albums there as well. Star Wars Galaxy trading cards as well.
Yep, I think I might have all of those, but I'm not totally sure. I have to go
And a
through all
couple of
that.
the prints up here. These are from Kim Simmons.
And what's interesting about these prints is it shows that this piece actually existed. This is the infamous kick-bashed rocket fed. And so nobody's been ever located, you know, the actual piece anywhere. And so, and that's apparently the card back it was supposed to come on, but nobody's located that either. So
I just watched the Toys That Made Us,
right?
And they talked about that extensively, and they actually showed a guy, another collector, who had that figure made custom, like.
Yeah, and I actually have that figure that was in the TV show as well. That was made by somebody in Singapore more recently. So down the hall here is mainly the bulk of the carded collection. And let's light up everything here. So obviously my 3 focus characters are here, as well as some other kind of bigger pieces. So being a FET guy, I tried to collect various FET offers. So these are all 20 back New Hope cards, Star Wars cards. And I focused mainly on kind of the original 12 characters for my run. I added a couple others as well. But yeah, those are all the 20 back FET offers. And a lot of what you're seeing on the second run is a combination of vintage FET pieces, including the original mailer that was released here. This is the first way you could get Boba Fett.
That's what actually came to you instead of
right, and he never came as a rocket firing FET. Now these are some customs that people have made. I believe this is the one Hasbro released. This is the one that was made from a customizer in Singapore. And he kind of made, you know, the ones that were unpainted here as well. This is a production piece. This is what's called the Popey Fett. That's a Japanese Fett that was released in a box as compared to a card. This is the micro series, micro collection Boba Fett. One's unpainted, one's painted, along with the carbonite block. The droids one there is a custom by Gary Weaver, you know, using the droids' colors, but that's a fully customized mold. There's a holiday special version of the same.
I love that.
That was also made by Jorge Baeza, who designed my logo. So he made that artwork there. Now this is a unique piece here. These are Colombian figures called Yuppies, and they were actually a premium that was included with, you know, little candy snacks. And so it was thought of, this is probably one of them, it is actually a licensed line. It has Lucasfilm written on it, on their legs, but it's one of the ones that are very hard to come by, and I've been lucky to get a full color run of the Fett version.
So this is the kit bash you were talking about?
This is the kit bash custom. So this is the one that was released by Mark Poon in Singapore, and he made a nice box for it. So he's made a few nice presentable pieces here. This was the one that was made by Vince Viard, the French customizer, back in the mid-90s. So he did one of the first rocket-firing kit-bashed Fets. And so you can see it's actually not too far off, you know, for being 20 years difference. So,
but that is a piece that has actually never been found.
The real original piece has not been located, or at least nobody has publicized it. So that is a Return of the Jedi Vintage 3-pack, mainly because it has Luke Jedi in it, which is one of my focus characters. So
very nice.
And then this next row here are mainly Return of the Jedi cards, and mainly the alternate image cards. So when they released some Return of the Jedi cards, they changed the image on the front of several characters, including Luke, Yoda, Boba, Vader, and then a few other characters that I just added because they're kind of favorites of mine as well here. It's a short run to complete, but it's actually not the easiest run to complete the alternate image, folks. And then the next 3 rows here is my loose Luke Jedi, sorry, not loose, but carded Luke Jedi run, which is not completely complete, but it's pretty close. It even includes some really, like a blue saber here with a snap cape that's visible from the side. So that was one of the very early releases. Some of the really earliest releases actually had the cape not even behind the figure, but in a baggie. For example, this is what's known as the molded face Luke, and this is released in Taiwan, but you can see that the cape is in a baggie. Okay. So that was the very first release of that figure. And there were 3 main factories that made Luke Jedi, 2 Hong Kong factories and a Taiwan factory, so this reflects, that's why you kind of look like you're seeing the same figure over and over, but it's actually a different mold. And the loose versions of those are included there as well. But the entire run up to the 79 backs in the Power of the Force are there. I do have some foreign figures here. The Lily Letty is a really nice piece.
Which one is that?
That's the Mexican version of Luke. And I was lucky to get that in such amazing condition. That's an AFA 85, actually. Which, if you know anything about Lettys,
the logo
it's very difficult to
down
get
at the
any
bottom is
Letty on
different.
card, let alone in good condition. So I was very lucky to get that when I did. And then the one next to it is actually one of the rarest Luke Jedis. It's Top Toys. And that's an Argentina figure.
Oh, okay. I can see the logo on the top.
It's probably the rarest loose variant of Luke of a officially released Luke Jedi, and the card back is exceedingly hard to get. Forget about getting a mock. But that's Top Toys. I do have a Meccano there. There's a Meccano Mist card that was on a Han card, and a couple of Palatoy variants there, and a couple of Canadian card backs there as well. So there's not a lot missing from the Luke run. There's a Toll Toys, I believe, from New Zealand that I'm missing. Not one I'm likely to get anytime soon. I would like to get the original Blue Saber in a baggie. Blue Saber with the cape in the baggie. It's one of the few I'm missing from that run. And here's a few Tri-Logo variants here as well. Of Luke.
Okay.
Down there. So some with the cape on, some Taiwan molds, some Hong Kong molds. So. And then what you're seeing up there at the top are custom Sand Troopers and Rebel Troopers. These are made by Arturo Del Pozo in Peru. He's releasing a few figures, maybe once or twice a year, where kind of continuing the vintage line, and he uses factories in China like Kenner used to. So.
And then
here's the complete droids full run. All graded, all unpunched, except Boba, which came factory punched. And then there's a few more Singapore customs there of the unproduced droids figures that you're seeing there right in the front. Those were not released. But all the released figures are there on card. And then the next row here is the big kind of hardest to get Power of the Force figures. So these would include people like Anakin, Yak Face, Nikto, Gamorrean Guard, AT-AT Driver, also Yoda, and I just put Luke in there. But the reason those are hard is because they were only released like in Australia or in Canada. And so they command a premium. And here's my Boba carded run. So I have 21 back there, Star Wars, the rest are Empire and Jedi, just various different card backs. And you can see if you look at the Bobas, there are actually different variants on each of those. So you just look at the ones on the card, you can notice there's slight differences between each of them.
Okay, there's your...
It's the Trilug and the droids. The Power of the Force is a mock-up. It was never released. But everything else is official there. And then some foreign card backs right at the end there. That's a Canadian, a couple English card backs. That's a Palatoy 65 back, and then the Meccano 65 back is actually a pretty rare Boba to get. That is a Lily Letty card back. I have a Lily Letty custom there as well, but the card back is real. Hoping to get that displayed with a kind of a loose figure in a special case as well.
Amazing. And I see there's your Yoda
And finally, there's the Yoda run.
Okay.
Which, a few of these are just being out for grading right now, so there's a few things left open the collection. But I've tried to focus most of my runs on, is there either a unique card back or a unique variant on that card back? So my goal is not always to get every single card back released, but is there something unique about that card back? For example, is it a different offer or is it a different variant? For example, one of the really hard to find variants for Yoda is this apple head version. So a lot of the Yodas you'll see, they're kind of this dull green, or the later Yodas with the brown snakes, they have a kind of a dull, darker green. But he was kind of a unique transition figure where he had this kind of really deep green apple color. And there was a transition, and it was a very short-lived figure, so it's a hard figure to find even loose. So that's probably one of my favorite Yoda variants. And then, of course, the image changed in the Return of the Jedi cards to the standing-up figure. And then here's some more foreign card packs here as well. Some Palatoy, PvP, Spain, Meccano. And a couple more Letty customs. They're very difficult to get on card. Again, a Top Toys figure there as well.
Very nice. So is that everything you got?
Pretty much.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, there's actually one more thing. Since you're
What's
a
that?
Black Series collector.
Oh, yeah.
You should see. So one thing I really liked about the Black Series is the packaging was great because you could take the figure out and put it right back in.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite features of the whole thing.
But I really didn't like the kind of bland packaging.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they could have done so much more with it. So there is a guy.
Oh, my God.
There is a guy on eBay that designed custom packaging for Black Series figures. And it was ingenious because what he did was he took the regular packaging and he created an inner insert with color and he created an outer sleeve that resembles vintage packaging.
Hold that back of that sleeve for me so I can film it for a sec. Oh, my God. That is amazing.
And he unfortunately has stopped recently.
Oh, no.
But,
well, you're putting this idea out here now. Someone else can pick it up and run with it.
But I was probably one of his biggest customers.
Yep, I just got the fin with the helmet.
But he did this and even made some for me on my request because I had some custom Black Series in package.
Oh, I love how it's like rainbow because they have done that a little bit. Like if you get the Spirit of Obi-Wan and the Mim Bam Stormtrooper in different color packaging.
Here's a really nice Luke in the New Hope kind of look.
Oh, I love that.
It's great that he uses. I mean, what potential that would have had, right?
I know.
Jeez. You know? So
it's just a sleeve that goes over
and then a sleeve on the inside. It's just a sleeve on the inside and it just
genius.
You don't even. I mean, you do have to open it to get the sleeve.
You're putting this idea out here now. I'm sure people will run with it. I love how it's like a rainbow.
Yeah, it's
figures.
not my idea, but you know, there was a guy that did it basically. But I just thought it was such a wasted opportunity by Hasbro not to do something.
Yeah, see,
like this.
You have the Spirit of Obi-Wan. I
right.
have
they
that
did
one.
Do a few with alternate colors, but yeah.
Is this a custom or is that store bought? The Scarab Stormtrooper.
Oh, that's a custom too. Well, I mean, the figure was released. But
yeah,
the sleeve
but I mean the sleeve.
The sleeve is, yes. But yeah, like the Rey and the Luke were released with slightly alternate colors, but not like the full picture sleeve, like you would for the vintage. But yeah, you can see it down there all on the top.
Oh, I love
the
that
entire
you got
release.
the Mando logo on the Fets.
On the Fets, yeah. So
wow.
I wish I could reach back there, but yeah, it's. I've actually had a couple of Fets made. I even had a holiday Fet made.
And what is this that you have autographed ones?
Yes. So one of the things I decided to do with my Black Series figures is kind of get a signature line because it was great that the box kind of had this blank side.
That's Carrie Fisher.
That's Carrie Fisher.
Is she? The box is signed, not the.
The box itself is signed. Yes,
okay.
And those are just in a case. But yeah, I even have a Harrison Ford here as well.
That's
a
Biggs?
custom. Yeah,
okay, I was going to say, where did you get a Biggs Black Series?
Yeah, somebody made a custom head, and they just put it on a Luke, basically. You know, and they made a helmet with decals, basically. And I did the packaging, actually. I just kind of modified it with some stickers. But he actually got a kick out of it when I got him to sign it. He was like, wait, did they release me? And so,
no, I'm afraid
there's
not.
a wedge there, too.
Oh, really? And you got Dennis Lawson to sign it?
And he also got a kick out of this. Really great custom that somebody made for me. You know, complete with his helmet markings and everything. So,
oh my goodness, this is amazing.
But yeah, Mark Hamill.
And that's it. Kenny Baker.
Kenny Baker, and I was lucky to get these because they all passed away probably within a year of me getting most of these. But a lot of them I just sent them to him by mail. And
really, you can mail them to
somebody. Sometimes somebody at a convention would get it for me.
Is that Frank Oz's autograph?
Not Frank Oz, but that's Deep Roy. That's the guy who played Yoda in a few scenes and in the actual costume. So Frank Oz, I do have a few Frank Oz autographs, but much Star Wars experiences. There's a Harrison though.
You have a Harrison Ford autograph?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
This is beautiful. So,
who is this?
That's Cullen Skeeping, one of the original Stormtroopers.
Okay.
Paul Blake for Greedo. That's Hayden Christensen.
Oh, really?
Anakin there.
Wow, that's impressive.
Tamir Morrison. That's Dave Prowse. Peter Mayhew for Chewbacca. So. And the line, the box packaging kind of changed, so they didn't have this blank side panel anymore. So this is pretty much everyone I could do. I think there's one I'm missing here, and I think that's probably Obi-Wan, but
Yeah, you're not going to get
Not
it out.
sure
You could get
Ewan's
an
gonna
Ewan.
be signing any
You
of
think
them,
Ewan would
so-
sign anything with his?
No.
And
Not
issue
that I haven't.
DVDs.
People have tried for me, and he's actually refused to sign a few of my things. So
Oh, really?
I don't know why. But
Does he go to shows and conventions?
no,
you know?
this would be a thing on the street that somebody would maybe find him. But
He might.
he's for some whatever reason doesn't sign a lot of Star Wars stuff. So
He did, have you? Are you aware of him ever going to a convention? No. Or a celebration?
yeah, this is my movie collection, by the way. So
Okay.
these are a lot of steel books, and
I see
that's the Star Wars section up there.
section.
And
What is this Rogue One? I've never seen that before.
I think believe it's the Target packaging,
Okay.
Target exclusive packaging. Now, have you ever seen something called the declassified version of Star Wars?
Mm-mm. What
I
is
don't know if
that?
you have time. We can watch maybe a few 10 or 15 minutes of it, but it's.
Oh,
it's
I got time.
how-
I don't want to take up your time.
Oh, it's fine. It's basically a version of Star Wars as you would have seen it in the theaters in 1977.
Okay.
So, and it basically. Let me see if I can. I think this is it.
All right, everyone, we're done here at Narayan's house, and I just want to thank you so much for allowing us into your house and giving us a tour. Your amazing collection is very, very impressive, and thank you so much. And everyone, look at the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars Collecting Facebook page. Check it out, support it, and thanks again, Narayan. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Well, there it was, everyone. I told you it was a pretty long video, but as you can see, it was well worth it. That is a very impressive collection. A lot of customs, a lot of dioramas. I really had a good time doing the walkthrough with him and talking Star Wars for a couple hours. It was a lot of fun. And again, thank you so much, Narayan, for inviting me into your home. It was a lot of fun. And you may have heard him mention in the video there the Moss Atlanta Cantina, and that is what he has named his collection. And it is also a Facebook blog he has. You can find it on Facebook. It's called the Moss Atlanta Cantina, and he constantly is posting information about collecting and variants on figures and all kinds of stuff like that. It's very interesting, and if you want to pick up a lot of knowledge about collecting, especially vintage collecting, go ahead and follow his blog. Again, it's called the Moss Atlanta Cantina, and it's very cool. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook blog, but follow him, check it out, give him some likes. It's very interesting stuff and a lot of knowledge being shared there. And thanks for watching, everyone. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys later.